but I hooked up with them and went to a couple speed trials events back in like 99, around 99 or so, and I started that off. I've been going ever since.
As far as the style, I mean, I see a lot of people that are putting like really nice track parts in their car, not really using them, and I see a lot of people who are putting parts on their car, like starting to think, well, I'll take my car to the track and see how these parts work. You know what I mean? So actually starting to use the parts. I think more and more people are starting to like get into road racing and like using the parts for what they're for. You know. So hopefully that'll continue, and I think K-swaps are going to really like just pick up, and you know, just V-Series is going to die out eventually.
I heard of a track event going down at Pacific Raceways down in Kent, Washington, and the event was being held by A&J Racing up in Vancouver. You know, I've always looked up to them. I've always sourced them for some car parts, and I got in contact with them to see if I could hook up with them and join their event. So what they offered me was like a whole day of track racing, not drag racing, like track racing, going around the whole track. You know, turning, shucking and jiving, using your whole car for what it was built for like a whole day, you know. And it was like $200, which is cheap compared to seat time, compared to price, you know. And it was an experience, you know. Like at every corner, I thought I was gonna die, which I guess, you know, is what you're supposed to do when you're racing. You know, if you feel like you're in total control of a car, then you ain't driving it fast enough. And that was my whole theory. You know, I scared the shit out of my co-driver, and that was my first time driving. And this dude was like a professional, like Porsche track racer, you know. But I took my car out there with the A&J boys, and I was keeping my own, you know, smoking like a couple C32s and, you know, all these AMG Benzes, you know, a couple RSXs and S2000s. But Benz S2000 from A&J fucking whooped my ass.
And during the whole drag racing time with the Integra, I had picked up a few sponsors, and they all were into the road racing side of stuff. And they were constantly going to the track, doing track days, and constantly trying to get me to go. And it wasn't until, I would say, middle of 2003 or something when I actually went to one and watched, and I was, wow, this is totally fun. And don't get me wrong, drag racing is fun and stuff, but it only lasts for, you know, 12 seconds at a time. So after I got the Supra, and I ended up selling the Integra, got at Hondas for about 3 or 4 months, and you know, once you've got the itch, it comes back to bite you, you know, and started going to road racing and bought this hatch that I have here, decided to go, hey, I'm gonna go road race and do the club racing thing, and planned to do it last year, but you know, things just didn't work out, ended up blowing a motor at the track. Got the itch again earlier this year, finally, you know, got off my ass and finished up this car and prepped it, got my license, started doing the local club racing tour here, and yeah.
Whether it is drag racing, road racing, or even street racing, racing itself is what inspires all motorsports enthusiasts. In the early years of Honda tuning, several import car magazines were born. Although the shelves are now filled with countless import car magazines, in the early days there were only a few. Sport Compact Car, Super Street, and TMR were the 3 best known, and began exposing people to a culture and style that many didn't know existed. TMR itself had a different feel. This magazine had many more photos than the rest, and its editor, Rodney Wells, viewed it as a way to show as much of what was going on in the Southern California tuning scene as possible.
Ken and RJ and myself all sat down and says, well, you know, if the magazine is not going to really support our scene the way we saw that we wanted them to support the scene, then the only thing we can do is start our own magazine. And I had this little, you know, idea, and I live in Costa Mesa. I worked 10 years in the snow, skate, and surf industry, and there was this little bitty magazine that was getting handed out at ASR and the little local shops around my house. And yeah, it was this thing called Electric Ink. It was like about this, you know, the surf community, skate community around there, and I'm like, dude, this is perfect. I mean, I've been going to battle for 6 years and watching what was happening. And me being a graphic designer at that time, I'm like, there's a huge problem with getting, you know, stuff in the kids' hands at the shows. It's like, you know, the kid, you know, a guy's there with his girlfriend and he's holding the drinks and holding their purse and his backpack, and, you know, and all these manufacturers are there trying to give the kids stuff, and the guy's like, whatever. And so I'm like, man, it's a huge problem just getting the guy to take something home. So that's when it like hit me, like, man, we do a magazine, and like at the same time, I didn't want to compete with Sport Compact Car there on the newsstand. I wanted the magazine to just go straight to the kid. It was made for that guy going to the show, going to the events. That was my focus, is like, we're gonna do something. I wanted it to be ultra accessible by the kid, and almost at the same time be a decoder to only that the kids would get it, you know, like the peers around us. If some old guy or manufacturer picked it up, you'd, you know, whatever, you know. That's why we started, that's how we started it. And that, you know, was the leading, you know, the whole, you know, toy machine racing.
Message forums are very popular these days, and countless forums exist. In the beginning, however, one stuck out. The Hybrid Board was an internet message forum based primarily on hybrid Honda engine swaps. With the increasing number of people realizing how easy it was to transform their base model Civic hatchback into a high-performance race-ready vehicle, the board couldn't have come at a better time. The site offered help with wiring, as well as other common questions regarding putting dual overhead cam motors into these single overhead cam Civics. It was a relatively small, close-knit community of people who, although sometimes didn't know each other in person, still related to the passion and interest in hybrid Hondas. Many of these original members met some of their closest friends through the hybrid message forum.
Well, the hybrid board is what really got me interested in going to the next level of speed and performance, really.
It was definitely a good resource.
Totally.
A lot of underground guys.
Yeah.
I mean, when I first joined that board, I got slammed for being a Super Street editor. They were like, what the fuck? But it was good because I got to, you know, it was kind of like you come into a world where you don't really know. Kind of learn a few things. Yeah, that's actually a good board to like pay your dues, because, you know, after you've been on that board for a while, they kind of respect you in some ways. Even
if you're like me, they don't.
Even if you say something stupid, you know, but yeah, you meet some cool people off there.
I was definitely intimidated when I first got on the board. I mean, my friend Houston was on the board, and he was the guy who actually had the DA that I liked that was stock, and I skated with him. So I went on Cabin's site and then found a link to the hybrid board. And I was just reading through some of the posts, you know, seeing what was the box. I couldn't register. They wouldn't let you just register, you know. And I got my friend Houston's email address because I hadn't contacted him since I left Dallas. And I was like, hey, I want to get on hybrid, you know, can you give me a username? Because I tried, they had you like answer a question, you know, to like get on hybrid, like back in the day. And I answered the question right, and I still didn't get a password. So I was like, what gives, you know? So my friend Houston got me a password, and I had to have like, they had to have like 10 like tech posts before you could even post in the alley. So like I was all like, you know, scared that they were gonna ban me or something if I didn't have all the tech posts.
I think about half the people I know today, I mean, I'd say they've all come from the hybrid board, really. I mean, it's just like, it's like family, really.
Eric Bauer and Tommy, I didn't know them at all before I got on the hybrid forum. I met a lot of people, Tony, that guy over there.
I went to high school with a few buddies that kind of, we started getting into cars and stuff, but after high school, I think, is when my passion, you know, really grew, because a lot of my friends moved away for college, and I was actually at work one day, and I worked at a complex at a coffee shop that had a Singular Wireless next door, and every day there was this 94 GSR that was slammed on SI wheels, and this 99 black SI that was slammed, you know, and it was totally clean, just simple, you know, the same style as my hatchback. And we would all park next to each other, and it was funny because none of us knew who each other were, but we'd all park next to each other every day. And then finally one day I'm working, and this guy comes in, and he's like, hey, what's up, man? Is that your hatchback? And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, is that your Integra? And he's like, yeah. And like, so I mean, just a simple hello. And then today is one of my best friends, a guy Javon, and it was Jeremy, and we all met just because of working in the same complex. And then from there, he was like telling me about this website, SeattleImports.com. So I checked that out. And then my buddy Dave and I just, you know, it was a forum board, just hung out on there, saw what some of the other local people were doing. And I mean, it sounds weird to say that I met them through SeattleImports.com, but a lot of my closest friends today were people that I met through cars.
You know, we got the internet, found Honda Tech, saw, you know, this whole JDM, you styling, just using OEM parts and making it look clean on the U.S. cars, because they are a lot different, and just going from there.